We have a quorum present pursuant to state legislation that allows us to proceed with a quorum that's equivalent to 10% of our existing 175-person requirement. Welcome to the 2020 annual Dover Town Meeting. Because of the unusual circumstances as a result of COVID-19, we hope to have as short this meeting as possible. We have been advised by medical experts that the shorter our meeting, the lower the risk for contracting COVID-19. As a result, we will depart significantly from prior practices in order to expedite this meeting as quickly as possible. I might add that there's also a line of thunderstorms coming in. If I receive the word from the police chief that there's lightning present, I will ask you all to leave and go to your automobiles to wait for that line of thunderstorms to pass through. And then the police chief and the police officers will alert us in our cars when it's safe to proceed again. I would like to thank Dr. Kevin Bann, a resident of Dover, and the Chief Medical Officer at Walgreen, Dr. John Bronstein, an epidemiologist and professor at Harvard Medical School, and the Dover Board of Health for their help in planning this meeting. We also owe great gratitude to our town clerk, Felicia Hoffman, and Police Chief Peter McGowan, and the crews who set up the sound system and chairs, thereby ensuring that the plan for our safety is properly executed. During the meeting, please remember that you should wait to be recognized before you speak. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Also, after the meeting is adjourned, please stay seated, and you will be directed out to your cars with the furthest back rows exiting first. Now we will begin with the motions. The first motion to be read before Article 1. Mr. Ursitti.
Will be adopted for the conduct of this meeting. Any amendment to a main motion that would increase an appropriation must contain a provision for the source of funds for the increase, such that the total amount to be raised and appropriated at the meeting will not be increased.
Thank you, Mr. Ursitti. Mr. Kinder?
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded that if somebody makes an amendment, they have to identify the sources of funding for that particular amendment. We will be taking a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next motion, Mr. Ursitti.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the following articles be dismissed. Articles 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29.
Thank you, Mr. Ursitti. Mr. Kinder, do I hear a second?
Second.
Mr. Kinder has seconded. These articles are articles that were either sponsored by town boards or by citizens of the town of Dover. All have agreed to their dismissal, and we thank you very much for your consideration in doing so. All those in favor of dismissing these articles, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to the first article. Mr. Ursitti. And by the way, this is on page 32 of your blue book. The first article is page 32 of your blue book. Mr. Ursitti.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the salaries recommended for elected officials of the town, as shown in the right-hand column of the Warrant Committee report, be called over by the moderator, and that if no objection is raised to any of them, they be approved as read.
Thank you, Mr. Ursitti. Mr. Kinder, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded that I call over the items that are listed on page 32, the salaries on page 32. By voting for this, you will be agreeing that these salaries will be approved unless somebody objects or says hold while I am reading these salaries. Any discussion? All those in favor of this motion, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I will now read the salaries that are on page 32. Board of Selectmen, Chairman, $200. Clerk, $150. Other member, $100. Assessors, Chairman, $400. Other members, $350. Town Clerk, $78,033. Planning Board, Chairman, $100. Other members each, $50. Constables, 3 each, $150. Board of Health, Chairman, $150. Other members, $100. Were there any objections or holds? Hearing none, I deem this motion passed. Next article, please, Mr. Ursitti, Article 2.
Mr. Moderator, I move that pursuant to the provisions of Section 5-16, Finances of the General Bylaws of the Town of Dover, that the town authorize the following board and department revolving fund limits. 1, Building Department, Gas Inspector, $9,800. B, Plumbing Inspector, $17,500. C, Wiring Inspector, $34,500.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Repetti. Motion has been made to authorize the amounts of revolving funds. These revolving funds begin on page 32 of your blue book and carry over to page 33. Do I hear a second, Mr. Kinder?
We didn't finish the list, Jim. We didn't finish the complete list.
Okay, sorry.
So
Sorry, in my haste, I cut Mr. Repetti off. Go ahead, Mr. Repetti, continue.
Continuing with the list. Item 2, Board of Health. A, perk and deep hole inspection and permitting, $40,000. Septic inspection and permitting, $50,000. Well inspection and permitting, $20,000. Swimming pool inspection and permitting, $10,000. Library materials replacement, $5,000. Council on Aging, senior activities and transportation, $35,000. Recycling committee, material sales proceeds, $1,500. And further, that the fees charged for these services be credited to the respective accounts, and that the aforementioned boards or departments be authorized to make expenditures from the respective accounts and for their respective purposes up to the amount set forth above.
Thank you, Mr. Repetti. And again, these items are listed on pages 32 and 33 of your blue book. Do I hear a second?
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded that we approve the items that are on pages 32 and 33 of the blue book. Is there any discussion? Okay, this is a majority vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Article 3, Mr. Repetti.
In advance of the motion for Article 3, we did want to touch on a couple of comments that had come from the town feedback sessions that we've had, particularly with regards to the relationship between the assessor's proposed tax rate as shown on page 15 of the Blue Book and for the actual tax rate that we expect after adoption of Article 3, to the extent it's adopted, along with Article 30, which is the use of free cash to bring down the tax rate. There's an amount of $1,350 per thousand that's presented in the assessor's item. That amount presumes that there is no usage of free cash to bring down the tax rate. It also presumes essentially that we tax to the full levy capacity based on the prior year's town valuation, and it's an estimate subject to changes in the valuation. We expect that to the extent Article 3 is adopted as presented and Article 30 is adopted as presented, that the tax rate would be somewhere near $1,290 per thousand, which is a 0.5% increase based on the prior year actual. And with that, Mr. Moderator, I move that the salaries and expenses recommended by the departments, officers, boards, and committees of the town as shown in the FY 2021 requested column in the warrant committee report be called over by the moderator, and if no objection is made, that the town appropriate such sums and raise such amounts from the tax levy and from other general revenues of the town, and that the town transfer the following sums to meet in part the appropriations made at this town meeting. $10,400 from Title V receipts reserved for appropriation for line item 710, maturing debt principal, $531,983 in MSBA reimbursements for line items 710 and 751, and that the treasurer be authorized to transfer $139,284 from line item 914, group insurance, to the Dover Other Post-Employment Benefits, OPEB, Trust Fund.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Repetti. Mr. Kinder, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded that I read the items that are listed in Article 3 beginning on page 34 of your blue book. Now, in order to expedite matters, I'm not going to read every line item. I'm going to read the broad categories. But I will pause, and I will also leave time at the end for anybody who wants to say hold or objects to a particular item. I'm doing this in order to save time. So the first item that I will refer to is the general government expenses that begin on page 34 and carry over to page 36. And the total amount of the general government expenses that's requested for 2021 is $2,482,408.24. The next broad category is at the bottom of page 36 and is protection of persons and property. Protection of persons and property. The line item for protection of persons and property extends from the bottom of page 36 through 37 and at the end of page 38. The total for protection of persons and property is $3,394,262. The next broad category is health and sanitation, and it appears on page 39 of your blue book. The total for health and sanitation, which appears towards the bottom of page 39, is $506,574. So $506,574. The next broad category is highway and bridges, and it begins at the bottom of page 39 and extends halfway through page 40. The total for highways and bridges is $1,599,403. The next category, other public services, begins in the middle of page 40 and ends on page 41 for a total of $1,516,208. The next category, unclassified services, begins and ends on page 41 for a total of $12,250. Next, insurance and pensions appears on page 42. The total for fiscal year 2021 for insurance and pensions is $4,629,462.57. Schools also begins on page 42 and ends on page 43. The total for schools ending on page 43 is $23,223,276. Lastly, maturing debt and interest on page 43 has a total of $1,130,425. The grand total for the operating budget, which also appears on page 42, is $38,494,268.81, representing an increase of 1.2% over the current year. Have there been any holds or objections? Okay, seeing no holds or objections, the motion carries. The budget is approved. Next item, Article 4, Capital Budget. Mr. Repetti.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the following sums be recommended for the various capital purposes be approved, and if no objection is made, that the town raise and appropriate such sums unless another funding source is noted, and that any sums realized from the trade-in or auction of old equipment shall be used to reduce the cost of the acquisition of new equipment or to purchase related accessories. Building maintenance, townhouse, window repair replacement, $300,000. Highway Department, utility truck, $57,000. Police Department patrol vehicles, $131,000. Schools, Chickering, flooring, lobbies, $55,000. HP core switch, $25,500.
Thank you, Mr. Repetti. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made that I call over the items in Article 4. They begin on page 44 of your blue book. And if there is no objection, they will be deemed to have been approved. Is there any discussion on this motion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I will now be referring to the items that begin on page 44. Highway Department utility truck, $57,000. Police Department cars, $131,000. Now turning over to page 45. Selectmen, townhouse, window replacement, $290,000. Repair and refurbish lintels, $10,000. School Department, flooring, $55,000. HP core switch, $25,500. Any objections or holds? Okay, motion is deemed to have carried. The capital budget is approved. Next article, please, Mr. Repetti.
Article 5 is dismissed. Article 6. Mr. Moderator, I move that the town authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into contracts, apply for, accept, expend, and borrow in anticipation of any funds allotted by the Commonwealth for the construction, reconstruction, and other improvements of town roads and in related infrastructure.
And any action relative there too?
And any action relative thereto.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Kender. Motion has been made and seconded with respect to Article 6. Now, Article 6 is on page 46 of your blue book. Is there any discussion with respect to the motion that's been made to raise and appropriate funds for purposes of highway construction? Okay, no discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next article to be considered is Article 14, page 47 of the Blue Book. Mr. Repetti.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the following sums recommended for the one-time projects be called over by the moderator, and if no objection is made, that the town appropriate such sums from free cash for that purpose. 1, technology-related project implementation, $50,000. 2, townhouse space reconfiguration, $100,000. 3, organizational assessments, $0. 4, water main maintenance and repair, $50,000.
Thank you, Mr. Repetti. Mr. Kender, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded that I call over the items that are listed in your Blue Book on page 47. If nobody objects to my calling through these items, they will be deemed approved. But first, we need to approve this motion. Any discussion with respect to the motion asking me to call through the items? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The items that are listed again are on page 47. They include technology-related project implementation, $50,000. Townhouse space reconfiguration, $100,000. Organizational assessments, $0. Water main maintenance and repair, $50,000. Any holds or objections? No objections. Motion is deemed to have carried. Article 15, Mr. Repetti.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town appropriate the sum of $250,000 for a reserve fund for fiscal year 2021 to provide for extraordinary or unforeseen expenditures pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 6 of the Massachusetts General Laws, and that to meet this appropriation, $150,000 be raised from the tax levy and $100,000 be transferred from the overlay surplus.
Thank you, Mr. Repetti. Mr. Kender, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded with respect to the appropriation of fiscal year 2021 reserve funds. This item is on page 49 of your Blue Book, up at the top of page 49. Is there any discussion with respect to this item? Okay, no discussion. No discussion. Let's move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please. And all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next article.
30.
Two left, right. Article 30.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town transfer the sum of $1,500,000 from free cash for the purpose of reducing the fiscal year 2021 tax rate, and that the Board of Assessors be authorized to use the same amount to reduce the tax rate for FY 2021.
All right, thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to transfer $1.5 million to free cash. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Last motion, Mr. Repetti.
Mr. Moderator, I move that this meeting be dissolved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Now we will exit by row. If I could ask the people who are furthest back to please exit, and Police Chief McGowan will be directing you by row so that we'll have an orderly process of exiting and we'll maintain social distancing. Thank you very much for all your work you've done and your kindness in allowing us to get through this meeting. Thank you.